The streets are buzzing. New York Knicks off-season continues. CT here with the live stream Saturday night. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's talk about the latest with the New York Knicks continuing this off-season, bringing it back. But one man who won't be back is Jeremy Sochan. Latest news coming out today is that he has signed a camp deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. Let's talk about that and what the Knicks are going to do with the rest of their roster spots. But let's have a conversation about the East and the NBA rankings right now. A lot of news where Shaquille O'Neal and other pundits talking about the Knicks got lucky. Are they going to be able to run it back? Already the doubters, the haters are perking up. Philadelphia made moves. The East has made moves. We're going to take a look at all the moves around the league and see where each team stacks up. For me, personally, guys, we're going to take a look at all the moves and I'm going to give you my power rankings. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Hope everyone's doing well. Summer of Champs continues. Shez V, Johnny Chiba, great to see you in the building. Right. I still got some championship merch on the way, but man, the parade cap is here. I'm still waiting for the locker room cap, and I can't wait for that one. Shout out to everyone that's copped, and man, the bank balance has taken the hit, but such a amazing feeling, to be heading into this season, right, as champions, obviously, but the expectations, man, bring it on, right? There's going to be more expectations for the Knicks to be better, and obviously there's been some great moves had. I think the off season's been, for me, been an A so far, and I've seen some people give the Knicks off season a C minus so far, but obviously we lost Mitch, but to bring back Shamet on that amazing deal, that remains one of the best deals of the summer, in my opinion. Right, as we take a look at the roster where it stands right now, the New York Knicks are at 13 roster spots. They could sign a full vet minimum guy, right, and potentially one of the rookies later into the season. But I think Leon Rose, and we'll talk about it tonight, and get your opinion, guys. What do you think the Knicks are up to, man? What is Leon Rose cooking right now? Because the Knicks are the only team in the league with no two-way players. Jack Cahill, Tyler Nickel. I think Leon Rose is keeping all options on the table. Flexibility is key because there could be some late trades, as there always is into August, September, and even maybe October as well. Remember, the Karl Anthony Towns trade happened on the eve of media day, and so I think the Knicks are looking for another center. Obviously, they tried to get Musa Cisse. They've got Drummond, the experienced vet. I do think they're probably looking at a younger guy, a more athletic defensive guy. And that move for Musa Cisse, although it didn't work out, I think that shows the Knicks' intentions to try to get a defensive-minded big man and add to that depth and obviously improve athletically as well. Because, look, we know Drummond, he's going to bring rebounding, he's going to bring the screen setting, and he's going to bring great locker room presence, but he's not going to bring athleticism, and he ain't going to bring the defense. So what are your thoughts, man? Welcome in, Raf, Jamal, salute. Yeah, I think the Knicks have got an amazing chance to repeat, and I think the Knicks can go to another level still. But look, there's still some vital spots to fill in the roster because you lose Mitch. Okay, Drummond's going to add a bit more offensively, in my opinion. He can be a hub. He can put the ball on the deck a little bit more. He's more confident with the ball offensively than Mitch. Shoots better free throws, and of course can splash the corner three at 35%. Right, but defensively, it's gonna be a step back, and so I think all in all, and we'll take a look at the free agent list. Who's available? Nick Richards is at the top of the list for me, but I think he's going to be better defensively than Andre Drummond. But if you look at the type of profile and the age, I think it might be a little redundant. I think the Knicks will be looking for someone better and I think they're going to be looking at via trade. Um, Cork, Brenner. I think two teams that for me to look out closely is the Charlotte Hornets and the Portland Trailblazers, fam. Um, Speaking of the Trailblazers, the news at the top today is obviously, and we'll talk about some of the news that we missed. Been away for a couple weeks, but we're back streaming on the weekends. Shout out to everyone in the building. Smash that like button. And obviously the LeBron news happened. We'll talk about that in the ranking segment tonight. But look, Jeremy Sochan, there was legitimate conversations. Should he come back? Is it worth bringing him back? I thought that there was a chance that the Knicks could at least bring him into camp. And we find out that today he signed with the Blazers for a camp deal. This is non-guaranteed. And he's going to have to battle it out in camp. And look, there's a lot of players that get cut after camp. I don't think this is a lock. I don't think he's a lock to stay in Portland. They've got a lot of big bodies. They're one of my two teams that are absolutely loaded in the front court with the Charlotte Hornets as well, man. With they've got Naz Reid, Brenner, Moussa Diabate, and of course the Portland Trailblazers, man. They've got Donovan Clingan. They've got Young Hansen as well. And they've got some other guys. Duop Reith, I think, is a free agent now. But yeah, they add Jeremy Sochan. So what do you guys think about this? Johnny Chiba says, Leon always plays it this way, waiting for the shoes to drop and the right fit. Yeah, 100% agree. Right fit. We're sitting pretty. We're top of the hill, king of the mountain, and right now we're waiting for the right fit. And like I said, I wouldn't be mad at Nick Richards. I think that makes the most sense in terms of the free agents available. But if you look at him and Drummond, it's like, what are they going to do? Battle it out? And I don't think one is significantly better than the other. So I think with the third string big, I think they're going to try to go higher upside, and it's going to be via trade. Moussa Cisse offered that with the athleticism. They tried to get Moussa Diabate. They tried to get Yves Missy, and I think they're going to continue. Maybe later into this off season, somebody else shakes loose. Buzzer beaters in the house. Great to see you, fam. Hawks ATL says Mitch ain't the end all be all. Mitch was only playing 13 minutes in the finals. Yeah, that's a great point. For however much of an upgrade Mitch is defensively, how much do you got to factor in that he only played 13 minutes and he can't play late in the game, right? The health was an issue, back-to-backs. Drummond was a bit more, durable, but it's a step back defensively. But I'm excited to see what Drummond can bring offensively, right? If you can replicate somewhat of the hub and the playmaking at the 5 that you get with Karl Anthony Towns, if you can get just 50% of that through Drummond, I think that's going to make our offense a lot better. And we all know he could either decide to crash the glass or he could take a step back out into the corner and hit that corner 3 as well. He only averaged, I think, 1.7 attempts per game. So it ain't high volume, but I'm still excited to see, a backup center that can space the floor at least, right? And look, it's a veteran's minimum deal. So I think Drummond's going to be fine. I think it was a fine pickup for a vet's minimum, but we need someone else. And look, Pacome Dardier, had an underwhelming summer league. The front office and the club is still high on his future upside, but the time is now, right? The East is coming. The East is shooken up. The East is making moves. And so we're going to take a look at that tonight. Is Tyler Kolek one of our more significant trade chips, right? Maybe a Kalkbrenner or another move would have happened if Leon was willing to put one of these guys in a deal. Maybe he hasn't been able to come around to doing that right now yet. I don't think Deuce is in any trade discussions. I think he's off limits for now. I think Leon's comfortable, reigning defending champions coming into the season and just seeing what it all looks like. See what the East looks like. we might be top once again heading into the trade deadline and feel like, okay, let's just not make a major splash. Or the East might be really competitive, as most people believe it's going to be, because there's been a lot of moves happen as we bring this up. And we're going to continue in the Knicks roster conversations and what I think the Knicks should do. But let's just take a quick look at each team. And you guys let me know who stands out to you, who's made the best moves so far. Obviously, Giannis went to the Heat. LeBron went to Philly. The East is a lot stronger now. I still think Miami's going to be short, though, with scoring. And I don't think Philadelphia can defend as well as, some people think they might be able to. I think the Celtics took a step back, getting older with Paul George and Mike Conley. I really like the moves from the Atlanta Hawks, right? The Atlanta Hawks, I think, have made some great moves right there. They brought in Devin Carter, Lou Dort, Nemhard. We don't know if he's going to stay. John Collins, not headline moves or nothing like that, but I do think Atlanta Hawks got better defensively, especially with Lou Dort. But again, offensively is going to be an issue for them. And can they score enough to hang with the likes of the New York Knicks? Are the Indiana Pacers, right, gonna come back up? Right, they've got Kelly Oubre. They've obviously got Zubac, Pascal Siakam, Nemhard, Neesmith. They've got some continuity and some pieces. I do think the East overall, top to bottom, is going to be more competitive, because I do think obviously the Washington Wiz are adding young talent through the draft as well. I do think the Detroit Pistons, whether they bring Duran back or not, I do think they're going to take a step back, because some chemistry concerns, reliance on Cade to score a hell of a lot. So that's a quick preview, fam, before we look at the power rankings. Ace of Spade in the house. Margaret, salute to everyone. Hope all is well. The Summer of Champs continues. Yeah, Hawks is right. We do lose that lob threat with Mitch. That was some quick offense. B-ball coach says, I like Corkbrenner. I think he's a good long-term fit for the Knicks. You and me think alike, because I do think Corkbrenner is the most realistic trade target, because we already know that they rejected the deal for Diabate. They've got Naz Reid, and we all know that Pelicans are really high on Yves Missy now. You got Joe Dumas feeding the media. Chris Haynes talking about porting the Knicks frenetically trying to get Yves Missy. That's the thing. When you're the champions now, teams don't want to deal with you. They don't want to do you no favors, right? The Knicks are champions, and I do think the Pelicans deal was difficult to execute without, maybe overpaying, right? So as we turn the page right now, this is my preseason as the offseason continues, but I don't foresee too much change in terms of my preseason power rankings right now. Could there be some teams in the second row that ultimately, if all breaks right, and they could become a contender? There's a chance. Maybe the Pacers, maybe Minnesota Timberwolves catch a break. Maybe there's some injuries to OKC or San Antonio. But for the rest, I don't think the Nuggets are getting a little too old right now. The Hawks are still short a couple pieces. I think the Celtics have taken a step back. Without Jaylen Brown now, Tatum coming back with a first full season, I think he's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. Paul George is 36, 37 now. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, no matter how good they are in the regular season, they always just seem to crap the bed whenever it gets to the postseason. And so, bar the Pacers or the Minnesota Timberwolves, I really think there's 4 teams likely to duke it out. And I had to give heavy consideration to Philly, and I do think there's significant flaws in Philadelphia's starting 5, especially defensively. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they are a legit contender now for this reason. because, you make it to the second round last season. You got Maxi and you got VJ Edgecombe, still young, still ascending with upside. But you get rid of Paul George, who's old, and you replace him with a younger Jaylen Brown, who's capable of carrying the load. And you also add a LeBron James to that with some extra depth off the bench with Dean Wade and Anthony Simons. I think they've got a hell of a squad. I don't think they're going to have enough because I do think it's going to come down to defense and health. But for now, I do think Philadelphia, if things break right, could be in the mix. You guys let me know what you think. Johnny Chiba says Corkbrenner has got skills. Yeah, he's super long, and I do think rebounding is something the Knicks really like. He's a great offensive rebounder. Buzzer Beater for Life chimes in and says, right, Mitch was the lob threat. However, he couldn't score. Otherwise, he could only play limited minutes. Yeah, I think, look, I wish Mitch all the success, man. Once a Knick, always a Knick. And he helped us break the drought, vital piece of our championship team. But if the Knicks had traded Mitch, I think they would have been selling high because the older he gets, the injuries could start to stack up. Paying him $15 million per to be a backup is risky business. Let's not gloss over that, right? Look, ultimately, if I was a billionaire, I would have brought Mitch back. I would have gone into the second apron, at least for one more year and see. But look, I ain't mad because the moves are still got to shake out. But although we lost Mitch for free, if we had traded him, I would have said we would have been selling high for his age and where things are at right now. You're paying Drummond, who could give you close to the offensive rebounding production for a fraction of the cost. And hopefully we can, get the future back up with a couple of these, potential trade targets coming up, guys. But yeah, what do you guys think? Look, some standouts. I think the Miami Heat are still short. The Raptors thing, man, who the hell knows what's going on with Kawhi Leonard? That thing could drag all the way in to the 2027 season. I think the Orlando Magic are a mystery team. I mean, Franz Wagner's got to stay healthy. I think the Pistons take a step back, like I said. I think the Houston Rockets window is closed, in my opinion. KD is, 38 years old now, man. His Achilles and knee have been dealing with a lot of wear and tear as well, and they need a point guard. Fred VanVleet comes back. But look, there's so many teams ahead of them right now, in my opinion. The Hornets could take a step up. Look, credit to the Phoenix Suns for last season. They took a step up as well, but the Lakers are a mystery as well. And look, Minnesota, I think they could be a fun team with LaMelo and with Anthony Edwards. Reducing the ball handling on Ant-Man, I think is going to keep him more fresh for down the stretch. But yeah, I do think Indiana are a team where it's like they could get back up to where they were, or I would not be shocked if, it takes them a little bit of extra time to, see Halliburton back in with the new pieces and the new fit, ladies and gentlemen. So that is where we're at, right? Let's hit on the next comment, guys, and appreciate you for coming through the building. Everyone, smash that like button. We'll shout you guys out. But first up is Buzzer Beater, still living the dream, man, as the champ. Let's go, Buzzer. Appreciate you for the super chat. I'm still celebrating. Go New York Knicks. Let's go. Target on our backs. I like people doubting us once again, man. To me, it make no difference on paper whether we're the favorites or we're not, man. We all know what this club with this squad is made of, and I think the confidence is only going to grow. Think of a whole season with the full squad with Alvarado now as a champ returning, Landry hungry, and Karl Anthony Towns as a playmaker at the hub, at the 5 spot as well. And look, Brunson, man, think of how free, how much more loose guys like Macau Bridges, Hart, OG, Brunson are going to play with, because they've already got their first chip with the New York Knicks now, and they believe in each other. And I think Mike Brown is going to add more to the offense as well. Shez V says Drummond can shoot threes. Yeah, I think that's super underrated, and I don't want to gloss over that because I do think we got better offensively. You know, uh, look, one of my biggest frustrations with Mitch, he never improved with the free throws. Uh, he grew in a lot of other areas with foul trouble, and he grew with defensive discipline. However, the free throws were not something that pleased me either. Look, Drummond, let's see what he can do. Let's see. I do think we're going to add more depth to that front court. Jeremy Sochan won't be coming back. What do you guys think about that? Let me know as well. Buzzer Beater for Life says Portland has 1,000,000 point guards as well. I think Tyler Colette could be a guy that gets moved. Not gonna lie. Jack Cahill is a player that the Knicks have got to make a decision on as well. Not saying Colette might get traded right now, but he is one of the few trade chips we got to bring in another center. I really want to see what Colette can do. I think if he's on the squad come opening night, I think he's going to get more of an opportunity. But like I said at the top of the show, everyone, the Knicks are the only club in the league that hasn't signed a two-way contract yet. They've got 3 open two-way spots. So obviously Tyler Nickel, Jack Cahill, Kevin McCullough, Trey Jemison, someone's going to get these spots. I personally don't want to see Dylan Jones return. I think he's fulfilled his service to the team. Would like to give these spots to somebody with higher upside. But let's see what Leon has in mind. I haven't spoke to Bill Daughtry yet, Buzzer Beater, but I promise we will link up and hopefully get Bill on this off season before opening night. Margaret says, I hope Drummond comes into camp in shape. Yeah, that's going to be key, Margaret. Coming back home, he knows the expectations, and I think he's going to be, hungry to prove a point. Remember he talked about not wanting to take that minimum, and wanting to get what he's worth, and lo and behold, he comes to the New York Knicks on a vet's minimum deal. 32, just turned 33, or about to turn 33. So I think Drummond's still got something left in the tank. I looked at a lot of Philly reviews and off-season grades, and a lot of people said, Drummond had a solid season as a backup. Some gave him a B minus, 35% from 3. The offensive rebounding numbers were second to Mitch, only second to Mitch. And so I think we got a steal. But my expectations aren't through the roof. I know he's got serious limitations, fam. Look, am I scared of the Heat? Am I scared of Detroit? Toronto? No. Right. The only teams that I think can hang with the Knicks might be the Pacers or might be Philadelphia. Right. I don't even think Boston's on our level. Right. So health might be the only thing standing in the Knicks' way, man, of getting past the Eastern Conference Finals once again. Right. And just my quick thoughts on this Sochan deal. Right. Look, I think the Knicks needed to get more versatile. Sochan's a guy like, I don't know, you can compare him to Huck Purdy, you can compare him to Jericho Sims, a player with certain skills on the defensive side, but ultimately very, very, very limited, And I purposely said very 3 times. He's very limited because, we saw him for glimpses in the NBA Finals, sets good screens, brings a bit of energy, but ultimately, man, his shot is ugly. He can't score too much. He's like, 11th, 12th, 13th man at best. And so I'm okay rotating that spot, man, and giving it to someone else with higher upside. But thank you for your service, Jeremy Sochan. I think ultimately the move was to help the Knicks, um, be prepared for maybe a matchup against the Pistons, maybe a matchup against the Celtics. I think, and I think it was a fine deadline pickup. We didn't really need him in the end because Philly took care of Detroit. Sorry, Philly took care of Boston, and Cleveland took care of Detroit. So in the end, man, thank you very much, Jeremy Sochan, man. Nobody celebrated just quite like Sochan, right? But once a Nick, always a Nick. He'll get his ring when he visits Madison Square Garden as a Portland Trailblazer. Uh, Johnny Chiba likes that move. Drummond coming home. New York should revitalize him. Yeah, he didn't look great defensively, but you got to look at it as like he was on Philly, and so we're a much better, defensive team at the wing spot, and I think our team defense is very underrated, and that's the point I would make against anyone too down on losing Mitch. I'm like, I know everyone's saying, oh, we're losing Mitch's defense, and it's a huge drop off against Mitch down to Drummond. Yes, individually, but Mitch only played 13 minutes. And the thing I would push back on, I would say, don't underrate the Knicks' team defense, right? Mike Brown played a lot more zone. Andre Drummond is fine eating up the paint, clogging the paint. He's a huge body. He'll inhale all the offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. And he's fine, as a drop center, eating up space. At the end of the day, we might lose the lob threat. We'll lose some perimeter, game where, Mitch can switch his feet a bit out on the perimeter. But outside of that, Drummond's going to add a bit more offensively too. And I do think, obviously, they're not going to switch with Drummond, but what they might do is hard hedge, ice, and try to recover. We might see a lot more zone. But again, here's the backup. Cat's going to be eating up most of these minutes. And let's see what we do with the other spot, right? But Bleacher Report, ladies and gentlemen, they've put together their best starting lineups in the NBA. They've got Philly, man. Is this an overreaction? Philly all the way at number 1, OKC, and then now New York Knicks at number 3. What do you think about that? The Pacers number 4, Nuggets, Spurs. Look, I would have the Spurs way ahead of the Nuggets and probably the Pacers as well. Got to give the Spurs credit. I mean, they made the finals. They beat OKC. So I wouldn't have the Spurs down in 6. And I certainly wouldn't have Philly number 1. But I can understand, man, prisoner of the moment. People high about LeBron. Philly fans getting, chirping, clapping back, thinking that they're going to get the better of the Knicks now. But look, the thing is, right, if that Philly series was at least competitive, you might have an argument. But it was a sweep, man. It was a sweep. LeBron James is going to add a lot more versatility offensively, but defensively, man, he ain't stopping no one on the Knicks. I mean, no one. His defense has taken another step back. Joel Embiid, can he stay healthy? Absolutely not. And so the thing where I say, okay, Philly might be a contender is Jaylen Brown. Like, to me, that's significant. You swap Paul George out for a younger wing who's capable, who's an MVP candidate in the regular season. He can carry a team to 50 wins. We've seen that. So credit for that move. They absolutely fleeced, I think, in that move, getting Jaylen Brown. And that ultimately was the domino that convinced LeBron James that I could win a championship with Philadelphia. But at the end of the day, I still don't think it's enough, man. And I'm trying to be as objective as a Knicks fan as I possibly can be. Another guy who's sleeping on the Knicks right now is flip-flop Kendrick Perkins, man. Quick to praise the Knicks, then he's quick to flop on the next thing with Philly as his best team in the East as well, man. He's got the Hawks at number 3, and he's got Washington at number 5, man. So who the hell knows what Kendrick Perkins is smoking right now, but look, I understand it's everyone's preseason prediction right now, but look, I think the Knicks are going to remind people come postseason, whatever happens in the regular season is just a warm up, man, just a tune up, right? The Knicks got the continuity, right? Ever since this man came into town, man, this was the graphic, man. 2022, July 13, the New York Knicks announced Jalen Brunson as the new king, the point guard that brought a championship to the squad, man. It feels like a lifetime ago, man, but I want to get everyone's initial thoughts when we first acquired Jalen Brunson, and I want you to be completely honest, man. What were your expectations? Right? What was your belief? Was your belief that, yeah, we got our guy? Or was it like, okay, I see what Leon's doing. We still need some more guys. Or were you like, I'm not convinced. This is the wrong guy. This was an overpay. There was a lot of people out there, man. I got the receipts, man. We did the live stream reaction comment. I'm not going to go back to the comment section, but right. Now's the time to be honest. But at the end of the day, man, he delivered, man. He delivered on his promise. And he wanted to come to the Knicks and put a team on his back. He was done being Luka's sidekick, and he's achieved the championship goal right before Luka has as well. Luka's obviously made the finals earlier, helping to carry Dallas, but JB was, on another level in this playoff run. Coach says Knicks in 5. Love it, man. Love the confidence, man. Buzzer says nickel is money. I really want to see what happens with Tyler Nickel and Jack Cahill. And I think if we're going to, talk a little bit about the roster now, we'll continue talking about the power rankings. But I do think in terms of the roster, I think there's going to be a trade. Right. And why I think that, why I'm convinced there's going to be a trade is a couple of reasons, man. Leon has got the two-way spots still wide open, right? There's a reason he's left those spots wide open, right? Because it's undecided. Is Nickel going to be able to fit on the roster, or is he not? If there's a consolidation trade, if we trade 2 players out for one, there's a spot for Nickel, or there's a spot for Cahill or someone else. So right now, I think Deuce is safe. I think Deuce McBride. I know there's a lot of talk about, look, if Leon doesn't extend you, he's going to trade you. And that's been true for most of the time. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen all the time. The simple fact is Deuce's productivity and role on this team, you can't replicate that for $3.9 million. Leon Rose ain't stupid, right? We're trying to run it back. We're trying to repeat, right? So I don't think you trade Deuce McBride right now. You just don't. He's such a important part of this team during the regular season, at least. And we know that he was hampered by the surgery late last season. And so I'm not sleeping on Deuce's contract year. So I think Leon might even be prepared to run it into free agency with Deuce. Right. Because we are going to talk about Karl Anthony Towns' extension and Josh Hart's extension, right? Those 2 guys are going to take a discount, right? I can't promise how much of a discount, but I think they are going to take a discount, and that could free up some wiggle room below the second apron for guys like a Deuce McBride. So while a lot of people are counting the days of Deuce McBride, I don't think no trade is imminent. Because think about it. If we wanted Moussa Diabate or Yves Missy so bad, Leon would have put Deuce in the deal, and I don't think Leon was willing to do that right now. So Deuce is safe for now, but I think 2 guys to look out for right now, and I do think Pacome Dardier, whatever trade value he might have, he's a guy that the Knicks will be looking to move on from, because 2.9, man, it's above the minimum salary right now, and that could be the difference between getting 2 more guys on the roster that could actually contribute. I think Pacome Dardier has an NBA future, but I don't think it's right now. I don't think he can contribute to winning for a team right now. I still think he's 1 or 2 years away from potentially cracking that rotation on an NBA team, let alone a winning team. So right now, Leon's got that decision to make. I think he's probably already had a lot of discussions around Pacome and some second round picks. But here's where things get really interesting, guys. Tyler Kolek. I think he would have a lot of intrigue around the league. There's teams like Phoenix, teams like Houston Rockets, teams like the Chicago Bulls, heaps of teams. Milwaukee, where he played college. I think there's teams that could do with a Tyler Kolek, and I think he could be a piece that gets the Knicks another big man that could contribute. Would I make that deal right now? You know, I'm not like itching to move on from Kolek. I'll say that. Maybe the Knicks just kick the can down to the trade deadline. Maybe they just sign a Nick Richards. But if I had to bet, if I had to put a bet on it, I do think we get another big via trade. And it's going to be one of those guys. Yeah, it might even be one of the new draftees. Might even be a Nickel or a Kyle. Who knows? But I do think, yeah, Leon does his best work via trade. So let's see. Yeah, I've given a lot of consideration to Khalil Ware as well, guys. Appreciate you in the building talking about that. Glenn Jones, my man, great to see you. On the Brunson question, we signed him on your birthday, July 13, so I knew we would win a lot of games. What a blessing, man. What a birthday gift. Man, I like the pickup, and I'm not just saying that because obviously he's the king of New York now, but yeah, I really did like the pickup. I saw the vision, and I thought it was a team-friendly deal. I didn't really want Damian Lillard at that point. I kind of knew that the sun was starting to set. Chris Paul was already, Russell Westbrook, LeBron now. Leon's proven, man. He ain't chasing those over the hill guys. He's bringing in guys in their prime. Karl Anthony Towns, he saw that he was ready to elevate and become a champion. OG Anunoby, he saw that. Brunson as well. Leon doesn't bring in these guys that are over the hill, right? We'll talk about the LeBron situation in a minute, but he said, "Hey, I want to come to the Knicks." Leon said, "Thanks, but no thanks." We don't need that. We don't need you anymore, man. Coaches, I think 55 will get a two-way till the deadline. Yep, I do think Tyler Nickel will end up on the squad at some point during the season when the money frees up. Johnny Chiba says, CT, I'm still waiting for any news on Kev McCullough Jr. I thought he would take a step up this season. Yeah, I think now's the time where a lot of these players are looking at what's best for them now. They've won a championship, and I'm not mad at it. But yeah, I would love Kev to come back on a two-way. But I think a really good example is Dink Pate. For those that don't know, Dink Pate obviously went undrafted. The Knicks signed him to an Exhibit 10. He came into camp last season, ultimately went to Westchester, had a great season. In fact, he was balling out so much that the Knicks were trying to get him on a two-way. There was a report now that's just come out. Now, Dink Pate's going to play college, still maintain his college eligibility. He's going to be at Providence, and he's going to get big NIL money, more money than he would have got on a two-way, more money that he would have got on a minimum as a rookie, and he's going to be able to develop his game. So with a guy like Kevin McCullough or Sochan, they're looking at teams now where they might get an opportunity because, man, the NBA is a business. It's a quick game right now for some of these guys that are in and out the league. So I would like Kevin McCullough to come in, but ultimately he's probably looking at the Knicks like, man, I appreciate y'all, but yeah, you got Landry ahead of me, you've got Deuce, you've got Clarkson ahead of me, Hart, McCall, OG. the opportunities are limited. Now you've got Tyler Nickel who can space the floor out as well. So let's see what the future holds. Khalil Ware might be a guy that could have shaken loose, but I think he's going to cost a lot more. That's the thing. As Edwards says, Pacome and Kolek trade. Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario right now. I don't see Deuce getting moved. And I don't see us just signing another washed-up vet minimum, because Leon's very calculated. He's already kind of shown what we're trying to do. He tried to get Yves Missy, who's an upgrade, tried to get Diabate, tried to get Moussa Cisse. So ultimately, yeah, the options might run dry, and we might end up just bringing in Nick Richards. But at the end of the day, one of those guys is probably going to get traded. And don't forget they had to promise Drummond some playing time. Drummond ain't coming if he wasn't promised somewhat of, the playing time right now. So let's take a look at some of these free agents right now. But look, I'm loving our squad, man. Bringing Landry back on the deal for $6 million was amazing. So these are all positions. Let me go center first. This is NBA.com. Very underwhelming, man. These are all the free agents still available. Bismack Biyombo, who's 33. Tony Bradley. Obviously Duran. Drew Eubanks is a name that I think might be worth exploring. But again, playing time is going to factor in. We've got Drummond here. He's probably going to want to go somewhere where he's the backup. Trey Jemison. Now that's a name that I could get behind, maybe as the third guy, maybe as the two-way big. Christian Holoko, I think, just signed the other day. I think Josh Aduro signed overseas. Kelly Olynyk, Dwight Powell, Oscar Tshiebwe, Jonas Valanciunas has already gone back overseas. Nick Richards, obviously, I think is the best name available, man. But look, it's slim pickings right now. John says Dink Pate is going to get better playing college ball. Yeah, I think he's made a smart decision financially and for his game. Margaret makes a great point. No, I wait. Center will be waived. Yep, that's one of the things. Ultimately, guys, I understand why people are kind of like, hey, what's going on with the backup center situation or the third string? Ultimately, we've got a lot of time left, and to your point, there could be a lot of centers out there get waived. Could be a couple moves, tweaks, roster crunches. Although Dallas still got Moussa Cisse, they've still got to make cuts. They've got to trade, what's his name, Daniel Gafford, because they've got Derek Lively. They've got Moussa Cisse now. Dwight Powell is going to shake loose, and Daniel Gafford as well. I think Duop Reith is another name out there. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see who else might shake loose. But yeah, if I'm a betting man, I do think it comes via trade. Now, if we take a look at the other positions, guys, there could be some other small ball 5 options. Nicholas Batum is still out there. Again, I think he's going to want playing time. Bruce Brown is still out there, I think, by the looks of it. Delano Banton, I think, we'll get a lot of offers. DeMar DeRozan, I know we don't really need that. Jeff Green, vet experience, but he's washed up. Maxi Kleber. Kuminga's one of the biggest names out there. Isaiah Livers. Kevin Love, I think, has no use on this team from a productivity standpoint. Xavier Tillman could be a name to look out for. Garrett Temple. Again, yeah, Dwight Powell, Xavier Tillman, Drew Timme, Oscar Tshiebwe. I think is a name. I think he's going to get some offers with teams. Trendon Watford. Again, man, it's scraping the bottom of the barrel right now, and I think as a free agent pickup outside of maybe Drew Eubanks or Nick Richards, I think it would just be from a depth standpoint, and we try to get our other big via trade. You know, we continue to kick the tires on that. You know, I mean, someone's got to be available. We've got all these second round picks. We've got Pacome Dardier or perhaps Kolek that we can put in a deal. So what would you guys do? Matherin's still a restricted free agent, buzzer. So yeah, that's a situation where he's waiting for his bag. Kaminga as well, who I think is going to go in a sign and trade. Question from Johnny Chi, but CT, does winning a chip make a bench player lean towards leaving for a better situation? Like I already got mine? Yeah, I think so. I think there's the way some fringe players think that way. And it just depends on your age right now, because you look at a Kolek who's going to be extension eligible soon, and you look at a guy like Kevin McCullough who's 25, 26 as well. Trey Jemison is like 26 as well. So yeah, it just all depends on their situation. I think a guy like Landry has come full circle. Like he's been around the league and he's like, I finally found a home. I'm gonna take a discount. I want a chip, and I think every Knicks fan would have forgiven or understood if Landry had gone for a bigger bag, but ultimately he's decided, man, I found a home and I want to try to repeat. Same with Clarkson, Alvarado's home as well. But for some of these other guys like Sochan, we don't know. Maybe Leon extended a camp invite to Sochan just for the vibes. Maybe he decided, look, let me head back out west. I did see Sochan was, back in Phoenix doing some workouts and stuff. Maybe he's got a home on the West Coast. So I think Sochan probably wanted to go back to the West Coast. And look, Portland's a young up-and-coming team. And I think, playing time would have been scarce for a guy like Jeremy Sochan. And look, Nick's got a glut of guards. You think of the nickel pickup, Kyle. Does that make Tyler Kolek more expendable? Not from a talent perspective, but just from a numbers perspective and from a trade chip point of view, where he's got legit value. I think there would be at least 5 teams in the league, dare I say, maybe 10, that would be keen on taking a flyer on a Tyler Kolek. I think there's more meat on that bone. Had some bright moments during the regular season, NBA Cup, Christmas Day. You don't want to wear Brunson down too much during the regular season, but we got Alvarado now. Deuce is gonna want to play a lot of minutes in a contract year. Deuce is gunning for that contract, man. Damn near everyone got security on this team except Deuce McBride now. If they haven't already been paid in the past, they're already waiting for that first bag. It's Deuce McBride. And so let's have a quick chat about the Karl Anthony Towns extension. I do think that's going to come, whether before the start of the season or I think before the deadline or whatever it is. I think, he might even be able to sign that extension during the season, but I think they take care of him before the season starts. So my prediction is Cat takes, a discount, steps up just like Brunson does, and offers the Knicks more flexibility and takes the 4-year extension. He's eligible for I think 250. I think he's eligible for 4 years, 250 or something like that. But I think he's gonna, he's set to be on, his player option is 63. I think he's on 57 this season. I do think probably his new salary is probably going to stay around the same, maybe around 55, maybe back up to 60, 62 on some of the future years, but they're probably going to backload the deal so that they can avoid the second apron while they're still in their prime. Now, there could be an argument for front loading the deal now that sort of we brought everyone back. What do you guys think about that? Now, some of the comments on the Brunson pickup at the time, and Bren, salute, says, for me, getting Brunson, I thought was like us getting Tyus Jones, a proper point, but not all-star level. Yeah, look, understandably, I think there was still a body of work that we hadn't yet seen. But I think for the price, I was, really high on the upside. I think it was that playoff series against Utah that swung it for me. Margaret says, I thought Jalen would be okay at the point guard, would be an okay point guard. Coach says, I thought he would be a starter, but not this. Yeah, I love the honesty. Definitely love the honesty. Edward says, Yo, CT, do you see the Knicks trading Deuce for a big? I could see it happening, but I don't think Deuce is going to be the first option. I think they're going to try to get a big with Kolek or Pacome. If it's unsuccessful, then I think come trade deadline, let's say if Kolek looks great, takes a step up, looks like he could be a long-term fit next to playing against playing alongside Jose, Deuce might be traded at the deadline, but I don't see Deuce getting moved right now. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me, but yeah, I just know that I think Leon understands what Deuce brings to this team, and I think if we're looking at the center spot, I think, look, they know Drummond's not the long-term guy, but I think we've got time, and I don't think we need to move Deuce right away. Having said that, if it's for one of their main guys, like if we could get Moussa Diabate, Cork Brenner, Eves Missy, Kalel Ware for Deuce in a deal, you've definitely got to think about it. You've definitely got to think about it because you've got some guards, waiting in the wings. There is a bit of a glut as well. And yeah, it just all depends on how sold they are on a Kolek or maybe a Jack Cahill from that standpoint. Hawks ATL says, where is a pipe dream? Maybe right now, but things can change. Injuries, things can change during the season. Felicia Lee says, wait till the trade deadline like we did with Alvarado. Let some of these teams fall out of the playoff picture. That's a great point too. Great point you make. Because, yeah, look, leverage might not be there right now. So maybe you just don't got to force it. Play chess. We're not at a point where we're desperate. That's why the Drummond pickup was significant, because it's like, okay, this can tie us down for now. This can tie us over, and we don't have to operate from a desperation standpoint. And again, I want to make this point, like I said earlier, when the Knicks pick up the phone now, when they're trying to talk to teams and discuss trades, it's different now. Think about if you're, the Pelicans or you're Milwaukee or any of these teams, and the New York Knicks, the reigning defending champions, show up on the caller ID, man, you're going to be apprehensive, because your ego, just like we saw with New Orleans, leaking those discussions for Eves Missy to Chris Haynes, talking about the Knicks are frantically trying to get Eves Missy. So that's the thing. These teams don't want to do us no favors right now because we're the champs. It's different now. So yeah, Leon Rose ain't about to do no teams any favors right now. So maybe we do just sign one of these free agent guys. But like I said earlier, there's a couple of teams with a log jam, and if you look at look at the Hornets, right? What have the Hornets done this off season? Where are the Hornets? Uh, yes, there they are. So they've got Naz Reid now, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, um, Grayson Allen, Corkbrenner, and they've got Moussa Diabate as well. That's a log jam. That's a log jam in the front court. That's significant, man. Uh, and the same thing with the Portland Trail Blazers as well. Um, so we'll see what plays out. Miles Turner might even get waived. Yeah, like Margaret's point, Felicia, waiting is key. Glenn says, I don't think we should extend anyone else. Play your contract out. Maybe Brunson, but everyone else, right? We get you never after they are gone. I can't be having these crazy contracts. Yep, I understand what you're saying. I think flexibility is big, but having said that, I think we need to see what this team looks like after winning the chip and how hungry we are. Shares V says it's crazy how the Thunder got all the Clippers picks for years to come. Yeah, I think that's one big thing to shake out around the league right now. We've got to wait to see what happens with this Kawhi Leonard thing, man. If that trade ends up happening, the Raptors are legit. Um, I've got the Raptors right now as short. That's assuming Kawhi Leonard ain't there yet. If Kawhi Leonard lands on the Raptors, then I do think they move up a tier, and I do think they'll be, potential Eastern Conference finalists. There'll be a chance to get there. Jean Marc says, "Yep, Sochan with the Blazers. Yes, that happened today. It was a non-guaranteed camp deal, so all the best to Champ. Once a Nick, always a Nick. Jeremy Sochan." I think it was a fine deadline pickup, but we didn't need him really. We didn't face Detroit. We didn't face Boston in the playoffs. Paul, I agree with this one. Charlotte will need a point guard. They traded LaMelo. Yeah, I think Kolek would be an amazing fit. Imagine Kolek feeding Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, all these snipers out there. Lob threat to Moussa Diabate, Corkbrenner. Hopefully one of them's coming our way, but feeding Naz Reid as well, man. Yeah, look, a lot of these teams ain't stupid. I think Tyler Kolek would have some currency. And that's why I think right now you keep Deuce, you see what you can get for Kolek, and you try to repeat. That's where I'm at. Even if it means risking losing Deuce in free agency right now, I think he's more important to our chances of repeating. You already lost Mitch. You've got Kyle in the wings as well. Looks like he's a guy that could play combo guard next to Jose and next to Brunson. So, maybe you give Kolek a major role to start the season and you let him boost his trade value. And then hopefully that helps us land one of these, high ceiling athletic bigs. It's all about playing chess, my friends. Mr. Nixon says, I like our rookies. Yep, you and me both. I think Tyler Nickel, could be a real shot to get some opportunities and some minutes, right? It's just crazy how the way the off season's played out, man. Aside from this big man conversation, man, it couldn't have worked out any better, in my opinion, man. Without trying to sound cocky or arrogant, the fact that we could have had Giannis or LeBron, man, if we really wanted to. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that if I told y'all in 2022, before we signed Brunson, that in the summer of 2026, we'd be turning down the opportunity to get LeBron or Giannis, man, because we're the reigning defending NBA champions, man. Some people might have thought you're crazy, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're operating from a point of power right now. We've got a squad still in their prime. Little sour we didn't go into the second apron, but I can understand the argument. I understand that they want to remain flexible. They want to remain patient in the way of making trades. That's the way Leon Rose likes to operate with trades. We've got picks still available. Look, push comes to shove, maybe in a couple years, if the window starts to close, maybe you can move on from one of these starting players to keep the window open. And that's why not going into the second apron could be beneficial from a trade standpoint. Also, they look at it like, okay, if we decide we are going to go into that second apron, we're going to do it for a Brunson. We're going to do it for a Cat. We're going to do it for OG. We're not going to do it for a backup center. Going into the second apron for Mitchell Robinson is really going into the second apron for a backup center. We know Mitch is a starting kind of caliber, center, but he's the backup on our team. And, there is the injury conversation as well around that. And so, look, where we're at, man, I think it's going to be fun, man. I think it's going to be Knicks Philly opening night. But at the end of the day, I think Philly's being a little bit hyped up with the LeBron situation. But I legit think that they cooked with the Jaylen Brown move. Because I don't think, like what we saw, I don't think VJ Edgecombe or Tyrese Maxey is really ready to carry the mantle, carry that team as a contender with Joel Embiid or in the decline. So I think a guy like Jaylen Brown is going to eat up a lot of miles on the regular season docket. And I do think that it's going to help Philadelphia out a lot. And if, LeBron can just be that big-time impact player, then I think Philly got a shot to get through the Eastern Conference Finals. But at the end of the day, man, the East runs through the New York Knicks right now. I think keeping Landry, Alvarado, and Diawara were big time, even underrated around the league. All these people putting the Knicks still lower down in the power rankings. I think they're going to be reminded that there is a lot more left with this team. Even right before that ATL series swung, people were like, "Man, the Knicks got to blow it up." Cat ain't cat, and all of this talk. A couple weeks later, we're champions. And so the pendulum can swing real quick with these guys locking in. But yeah, I think they're going to play a lot more free. And I think especially with a guy like Alvarado coming in now, who showed what he could do in the NBA Finals, man, when Brunson can play off ball, especially closing these games out. Buzzer Beater says it should be Spurs Knicks at MSG for our first game next season. Great comment, man. That's lit. That would be fire. I think Spurs Knicks, Wemby getting the cover of 2K, getting a Nike signature shoe, getting the big extension, revenge on their mind. I think that would be lit as well. Yeah, I don't think LeBron versus the Knicks and Philly versus the Knicks should be as hyped up as it is. But at the end of the day, man, I think the East is going to be way more competitive. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait to play the Pistons. The matchup we didn't get to see. I can't wait to face Boston. That rivalry ain't going nowhere. I can't wait to play OKC and show them what we can do. As champs, I think OKC. Hey, don't forget they took Hartenstein from us, but it worked out in the end. We got Karl Anthony Towns to help us climb the mountain. NBA champ, future Hall of Famer Karl Anthony Towns, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hyped to see what Cat looks like again next season as a playmaker. Midi Mikal Bridges, man, that 5-pick conversation, that ain't no conversation no more. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Mikal Bridges, looks like next season as well with that pressure, that release, that pressure lifted from his shoulders, and I just think there's going to be that release from everyone. There's just going to be no panic. Even if we're down 13 in a game, we're down 25 in a regular season game. This team knows that they can come back and win anytime, anywhere, anytime, any place, against anyone. And so I think, the NBA season is a marathon, not a sprint. I think we might see some teams come out the gates real quick, talking smack, Remember that year it was the Chicago Bulls that were the top seed after 5 games, and everyone was like, "Man, what's going on? What's going on with the Knicks? What's going on with the East?" And then it was like 2 weeks later, the Bulls are back down to 11th. So don't get fooled by this early NBA, seeding and all of that, man. It's when it comes to the business end, man, the boys will get separated from the men, and I think in the end, there's really only 4, 5, maybe 6 contenders, right? I think giving, the Timberwolves respect, I still don't think they're a championship team, but if there's an injury or two out west, and LaMelo Ball and Ant-Man look really good together, I think that could work out. But they lost Julius Randle's production. We'll see. I think the Denver Nuggets really need some extra depth. Joker and Murray getting older as well. So look, out west, I think it's a 2-horse race, maybe a 2.5 horse race out west. It's going to be fun as well, seeing the battles, KC and the Thunder, battle it out. Who's going to go full throttle during the regular season? NBA Cup tournament. Are we going to see a new champion? I think the Hawks are going to surprise some. I think the Celtics have still got some work to do. Cleveland, I think, might even take a step back because James Harden is getting older. They've still got to come to a contract agreement, I think, with him, and it ain't going to look pretty. They're going to have to pay James Harden serious money. And then look, the Pacers, they've got the continuity. How's the Achilles look for Tyrese, Buzzer says Miami, Philly got no bench. I think I'm going to put ATL and Miami in the same shoe where I think they're going to struggle offensively. Giannis is going to have to carry the Heat offensively still and put up a lot of points. They lose Norm Powell. I think it's going to be a similar situation with Milwaukee, but with slightly better depth. Slightly better team than they had in Milwaukee. Obviously, Bam can score a lot, but they lose Hero. They lose Norm Powell. Right? So Toronto could take a step up and leapfrog Miami. So Miami could even still be a play-in team, man. Don't forget, if Orlando take a stride and Franz can stay healthy, they'll be jockeying it out. And then you've got the Detroit Pistons as well, who I think are going to take a step back. They lose Beef Stew. He offered a lot of grit during the regular season. They're going to rely on Jalen Duren to overcome his mental demons, right? But Cade Cunningham, man, he's a one-man show right now, and that ain't going to fly in this new East, especially with the Pacers good again, right? See, the Pacers were tanking last season, so they're a team that you got to account for now. Another team that's going to be taking up a top 4 spot, and if the Raptors can land Kawhi, I think the top 4 is pretty much settled between the Knicks, Philly, the Pacers and the Raptors, most likely. And then I think the Hawks, Celtics, Cavaliers, and the Heat will be jockeying it for to avoid the play-in. Johnny Chiba says, "Hang that cup banner." Yeah, let's see, man. I think opening night is going to be one of the most enjoyable experiences, man, as a fan, and because from a different perspective, right? When you look at the huge wins in the playoffs, the NBA finals, man, that'll be the pinnacle. But the pressure, the tension, you enjoyed the win after the game, but during the game it was like intense. Opening night, banner night, ring ceremony, it's going to be like, man, who the hell cares what happens during the game? It's going to be a celebration, right? It's going to be that realization where the banner gets raised, maybe multiple banners. Well, there will be multiple banners because there will be the Eastern Conference Championship, there will be the World Championship, and maybe the NBA Cup Championship as well. And of course, there's going to be players getting their rings. Let's say there's a couple players that might not even be on rosters. McCullough, Trey Jemison, they'll be there getting their ring if they ain't on another squad. Players like Mitch and Sochan won't be. Maybe another player who gets traded possibly, but however, the returning squad will be absolutely hype, man. The building, it's going to be amazing, man. It's going to be an absolute event, a spectacle. MSG, man, is going to be raucous, right? Pre-game, especially to tip off the season and repeat the efforts to repeat. Now, Ace of Spade says, "I don't think so. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league. I think they will be top 6. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think, yeah, I agree with you on Spoelstra. Great coach. Yeah, Giannis is going to have a point to prove. Wouldn't be surprised if even Miami finish ahead of Philly with the injury situation. But then maybe I'm sleeping on the Charlotte Hornets, That's the thing as well, fam. The Charlotte Hornets might be a team that just takes a huge leap as well. But yeah, look, to sit here and say we've only lost Mitch and Sochan, we've kept everybody else, there's flexibility still. I'm over the fact that we didn't go into the second apron now because, we're able to get Landry at a discount. We're able to get Diawara at a discount and Jose Alvarado at a discount as well. And of course, got the 2 spots to fill with the rookies. They're looking for their opportunities, man. They weren't part of no championship run. They're just stepping into the league. Tyler Nickel looks like a player who's hungry to carve a role. And Jack Cahill, he doesn't want to go back overseas. Salute. Anthony Simons, KCP, Dean Wade, Adem Bona, and Dominic Barlow. So, yeah, Philly got some depth now. That's why I'm giving Philly the respect based on paper on the offseason that they've had. But it's not because of the LeBron move. It's because of Jaylen Brown, who's younger. He's an upgrade over PG. And it's because of their extra depth pieces. But look, ultimately, VJ could take a step up, Maxi, and I think Jaylen Brown are going to be the ones to carry them. Embiid is kind of going to be that impact player, Does he rest? Does he play one every other night? Does he play every 3 games? Does he play one every 5 games even? Huck Porty, they got him as a younger guy that could maybe play more minutes. Adem Bona as well. But yeah, I think Pacers and Philly could be interchangeable. I just think it's going to come down to how does Tyrese look post injury, and I know he's had a whole year to recover and all of that. I get it, but There's nothing like stepping into the real action, with the intensity, the physicality, the speed. We all saw, man, Jason Tatum just didn't look the same. He was at 80% best, at best. And so, but the thing that the Pacers have is the returning core of Siakam, McConnell, Nembhard, Neesmith. They've got an upgrade now with Ivica Zubac as well. They've got Obi Toppin still on the bench, and these other guys. They lost Mathurin, but they got Kelly Oubre. I think that was an underrated pickup. Who else did they pick up? Is that Lonzo? Is that Lonzo Ball? Looks like they picked up Larry Nance, Kelly Oubre, and Lonzo. Fam. Maybe I need glasses. I'm not quite sure if that's Lonzo or not, but either way, yeah, they got McConnell, they got Tyrese. I think Kelly Oubre was a nice pickup. Yeah, Johnny Chiba says, man, I agree. Opening night is going to be Game 4 vibes. Yeah. Think about when the Knicks go back to San Antonio again, man. We all know it's going to be lit when San Antonio return for their lone trip to Madison Square Garden, man. But we don't know who's going to be healthy during that game or not. Maybe Wembanyama might want to sit out to avoid some further embarrassment. We don't know. But when the Knicks go back to San Antonio, man, that's going to be a nice cheap ticket. What cheaper ticket for Knicks fans to once again take over that building, man. Knicks fans in Philly as well. In that arena is going to be crazy too. Can catch the Amtrak and get down there. Now that the Hornets are starting to become good, there's going to be more Hornets fans in that building. We know a lot of friends of the show and Knicks fans out there in Carolina. Obviously, make the trip as well down there. Cheap tickets. That's going to be lit. The Barclays is going to be taken over as well. Looking forward to the Knicks punishing Indiana, hopefully in these matchups. Right, I don't want to be losing to Indiana anymore, man. Those days are done. Right, we're reigning defending champs. The Pacers are still waiting for that drought. Man, they came all so close. So they're going to be motivated. Jason Benjamin says it, man. Opening night going to be out of control, man. The atmosphere, it's going to be lit. And look, I know it's probably going to be an opening, a national TV game, but obviously MSG should have that game as well. And we finally get Clyde. Hopefully we get Clyde and Breen on the call, right? Where we can hear their thoughts together, man, for the Knicks opening ceremony, ring night. Ring ceremony, banner night. Right, together, man. MSG Networks is going to be on DAZN now, no longer on the Gotham Sports app. What do you guys think about that? Gotham Sports app looks like it crashed, and I get MSG on the NBA League Pass International, but yeah, for the New York locals, it's going to be on DAZN now. MSG, yes, all the New York sports teams. Yeah, Junior Star, I agree with this. Spurs got a hell of a lot better as well, and they will be ready for us. Absolutely agree. Spurs had a great off season as well. Whilst he's had a lot of poor stops. Tobias Harris, I think, is a player that the Spurs could need, with his ability to isolate a little bit. Help with the scoring. I think De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, they just didn't have enough go-to scoring down the stretch. But again, it's Tobias Harris, so am I worried? Not overly, but I do think that they are going to take a step up. And look, if I'm Oklahoma City Thunder, man, it's a coin toss. It's an absolute coin toss between OKC and the Spurs now. If Wemby comes in hungry and the rest of the Spurs starters take a step up, the Thunder might not even get back there. But on the flip side, if AJ Mitchell, J Dub are healthy, and SGA is a little more willing to play off ball, OKC are going to be right there as well. And we know Sam Presti's a wheeler and dealer, so Chet Holmgren could be that contract that they try to move off of. But I just don't see what kind of fit or what's available for Chet Holmgren at that contract. Who could they go and get? Who's a young team who's a Chet Holmgren away from giving OKC a good piece? So they might be stuck a little bit with OKC in terms of what they've got. We've got the likes of, Isaiah Hartenstein, who re-upped. Man, he's on some crazy money. Dr. Scotty says, not a fan of the Gotham app. Can't rewind or stream when I want. I ditched it. Yeah, it seems like you're not the only one, man. Just didn't work out. Let's see how DAZN look. At least with DAZN, you're going to get some other stuff, I guess. You're going to get boxing. You're going to get some other, all the New York sports as well. Still enjoying the off season and buzzing, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Benjamin with a super chat. Appreciate you for the contribution, champ. What a special run we saw as fans. Big game winning plays and dominating these teams into submission. Spurs were favorites and lost home games. It was legendary. It was, man. It was one of the greatest runs we may ever see. Even if we, repeat or create a dynasty and we win some more championships, the run might not be as special. It probably won't be, just the way we did it. And I'm glad it was against some traditional rivals, It was against Philly that we swept. San Antonio, 1999, We slayed those demons, man. We slayed the demons of 1999. Last year we slayed Boston, so that was cool. That was good to kind of get that going and defeat Boston last season, defeat Detroit. So I'm kind of satisfied from that perspective. This season was cool, defeating Philly again and Cleveland, who we've beaten a lot. Now it's time to slay, Indiana. Indiana, I think, and OKC. Michael Drake, salute, says OKC just released Dort. Yeah, that was a good trade. I think for Atlanta's perspective, to free up that money. Buzzer Beater with a super chat got us buzzing, got the streets buzzing all day, every day. Are you doing a championship compilation video? We can. Let us know what you want to see. I'm open to hearing what the fans and what the people want to see, what the streets want to hear. Championship compilation. Look, I got a couple of videos of a friend for Game 5, man. I was at a friend's house watching the game. He's got a huge theater room. We're watching it on the projector. And my friend recorded me in the moments, in the minutes that the final buzzer sounded. It was a raw, emotional reaction. I can throw that in there as well, just so we can share. People can see, how I was reacting to the Knicks' first championship in my lifetime, man. And yeah, it was just so special, just the whole run. I'm still collecting merchandise. I saw Kat tweeted this out, the limited edition Tops Now card with Patrick Ewing. That meant a lot to me, that moment, and I had to cop that card, so I did. I got this one here. I got the standard version with Karl Anthony Towns and Patrick together embracing, man. My childhood era and fandom began with Patrick and all the way to now with Karl Anthony Towns, man. Two legendary Knicks big and big men celebrating, man. That was one of my favorite moments to see that. I know Patrick's no longer with the team now. You know, yeah, he's a guy who, wants to continue with his coaching career, and I respect that. But yeah, you had Josh Hart clap back at Draymond Green for counting Jalen Brunson's money, counting the pocket, the discount that he took. Look, he's just salty that the Knicks put their money where their mouth is and made it happen. And I think that is the most important thing, right? Everyone says they want to win, man, until it's actually time to win. And we all know that it's a different NBA now, man, guys. To try to compete and keep that window open, you have to do what the Knicks did. Look at the Denver Nuggets. They were one and done. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks, one and done. And they weren't able to get there again. I ain't saying that the Knicks are going to repeat. I'm saying they've got an excellent chance to repeat. And that's all you could ask for, because we've kept the core together. And ultimately, the rest of the league might just get better and it might become more difficult. But at least we're going to be no Milwaukee or no Denver Nuggets in terms of the fall off. For me. Glenn says, for me, CT, none of it matters. We are champs, historic run sweeps and everything. We can beat up the league for years, but this championship beats everything. It does, yeah. Just getting to that point, achieving it. And the games that we witnessed were absolutely legendary. I mean, the comeback against Cleveland is almost forgotten about because of the comeback against San Antonio in Game 4. But Game 1 against Cleveland was incredible, man. It was just absolutely incredible. Yeah, I want to share a story with you guys that I don't think I've shared yet. And I want to compare, so most of this playoff run, I was obviously locked in like everyone else, but some of these games, I was at work, so I was watching, during the day when these games were on, I was watching at work, and most of the games, third quarter, fourth quarter, were during my lunch break, so I would head across the street over to a sports bar, and what happened was right at the Game 1 against Cleveland, I was at that sports bar for that epic comeback, right? The big shots, Mikal Bridges, step back, 3, Brunson's heroics, all of that, man. Game 1 against Cleveland, I was watching at the same bar. And then what happened was in Game 4 against San Antonio, man, like a good luck charm, man, I headed straight back. It was the third quarter had ended, and I was watching on my phone. The fourth quarter was starting, and I was like, let me head over back to the bar. And I headed over to the same bar, and then the rest is history, man. The New York Knicks were pulling off the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history. And that was my good luck charm, fam. You guys let me know. Did you watch every game in the same spot? Were you superstitious? Did you keep the same routine? I tried to, man. I tried to keep it tight. Because the Knicks were just locked in, and I was confident, man. Once we pulled to 15, I was like, the Knicks are going to get this one done. Right. The Spurs just crumbled, man, under the pressure. I haven't talked about Curry to Boston rumors. No, I haven't seen any of that yet. The thing is, I got to feel like Curry, with the Warriors not making no moves. I mean, they might end up doing some kind of sign and trade, but I think they went in too soon, man. The Jimmy Butler deal was that was their unraveling, in my opinion. What do you guys think? I think they shot their load too quick. And look, obviously it was a bit of bad luck because Jimmy Butler tore his ACL, but look, you could see from a mile away that wasn't going to be enough to get them over the top. So what ends up happening with Curry, I don't know. I think he's probably likely to finish in Golden State. But man, looking at this graphic, man, I almost forgot Norm Powell's with the Bulls now. So that's a really good pickup. I think the Bulls had a pretty solid summer as well, especially from the draft standpoint and getting in Norm Powell. So let's see what happens with them. I forgot that the Boston Celtics got Mike Conley, but I don't think that's going to, move the needle. I do like the Lou Dort pickup. Whilst I'm not big on John Collins, I think, the Pistons still need some scoring. But, they had to replace Isaiah Stewart. They weren't sure what's going to happen with the Jalen Duren. There's still uncertainty there. I think the Lakers got better with Walker Kessler, obviously. Quentin Grimes. They got Luka now. Austin Reeves. Able to throw those guys some of those lobs. So yeah, man, this could be one of the most fun NBA seasons, man, in a long, long time. Obviously, from a Knicks perspective, last season was fun, especially the postseason. But it was nerve-wracking, It was tense. Buzzer Beater says, man, give me your boss's name and number. I'll make sure you never have to worry about them again. Appreciate you, fam. But yeah, got to pay the mortgage, got to pay the bills, but it'll never stop me from being locked in. Best believe that, man. I'll always find a way. And yeah, got to handle our business. But yeah, I'm just so happy that I was able to witness what we saw. At one point I thought I was going to have to wait a lifetime, man, and almost did. I think Clyde might be the most relieved person, man. He can flash his rings still, but it ain't going to be the latest rings, man. There's going to be a new shiny ring in town, and I can't wait for Mike Breen and Clyde to get their rings, man. Because the rumor is everyone that worked with the team is going to get their ring as well. I think Alan Hahn, Wally, friend of the show, Bill Pedo, maybe even Steve Novak, Monica McNutt, all these guys and talents around the team. Patrick's going to get his ring, but definitely Clyde. Clyde going to get a third ring, ladies and gentlemen, man. There might even be tears shed, man, on our opening night. When they call everyone up, all the players first, obviously, the coaches, all them, they're going to get their rings, the owner, whatever, the partners. But then they might just extend it to some of the Knicks guys around the team as well. To see Patrick Ewing and Clyde get presented with another ring in person when the banners go up in the rafters, yeah, it's going to be historic. Just like Johnny Chiba said. And who are we going to play? Is it going to be the Sixers, the Spurs? I think for ratings, they're probably going to go with the Sixers. I think if it's the Spurs, the fans probably want to cool off on that because we just saw a beatdown. We saw a gentleman's sweep against the Spurs, and there's still that cooling off period. But with the Sixers, they've got Jaylen Brown, who has Knicks hate in his blood. They got LeBron James, who wanted to come to the Knicks, and he was turned down. So I think it's going to be the Sixers Knicks. And look, Kendrick Perkins works for ESPN. He probably knows what's up. He puts the Philly squad number 1, number 2, the New York Knicks. Let's see how that all plays out, ladies and gents, man. But yeah, this has been a great stream, chopping up the latest Knicks news and the preseason power rankings from my perspective. We talked about the roster spots available. Jeremy Sochan not coming back. Look out for a possible trade with Hakoum Dardier or Tyler Kolek. Or the Knicks just run it into the season with what they got. And keep their assets close for a trade in season. Let's see what plays out, man. The Knicks don't have to make a move just for the hell of it, right? They want to get the guy that they want to get. It has to be a big with upside, defensive upside as well. Drummond can hold the fort down for now, but you lose Mitchell Robinson. You know, you're going to try to get a Corkbrenner, you know, a Diabate, Khalil Ware, Yves Missy, players of that kind of profile. So let's see how it all plays out, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everyone for the super chat contributions. Buzzer beater for life. Keeping it buzzing. Keeping it on point. Jason Benjamin. Reliving that special run we had. And the winning plays. The domination. The devastation that the Knicks have caused to the NBA. Long may it continue, man. Everyone's trying to catch up and stack up. And there'll be some familiar foes, some nemesises coming back up with Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum as well, man. Joel Embiid probably thinking he's got a shot to get revenge on the Knicks, man. You know, they might even just save Joel Embiid, man, till February. You know, it's going to be fascinating to see what they do with him. Not going to lie, man. If I'm Philadelphia, I don't even worry about playing Embiid until, you know, December at least. Let him have an extended, you know, training camp to get his conditioning back up. You know, what do you guys think? Yeah, Spike Lee ring might be happening as well. Man, the tickets are going to be insane as well for that opening night. Whenever tickets go on sale, that's going to be the hottest ticket in town. And I can't wait for it, ladies and gentlemen, especially to see Clyde and Breen back together again, man. But yeah, peace to everyone out here. Salute to the squad, replay squad. And please do us a favor, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We keep the streets buzzing, man. This season's going to be on fire as we try to repeat and continue to celebrate our achievement. Let's get it on the next one. Peace.